Hey everybody, Shawn here from the Automation Blog and School, and in this episode of the Automation Podcast, I sit down with Larry O'Brien from ARC Advisory Group to learn how his company helps end users as well as vendors with industrial automation. Larry, thank you for taking time out of your busy day to come on the Automation Podcast to tell our audience all about ARC. And before we jump into that, could you tell us just a little bit about what your position is with ARC?
So my position at ARC is Vice President of Research. I don't know what that means, really. I am currently right now on the cybersecurity team at ARC, where we do research on OT level cybersecurity. So we research the vendor side of the marketplace as well as the end user issues in the marketplace. And I'm also on the energy, critical infrastructure, and smart cities team at ARC. But just to give you a background, and energy is like renewables and central station power gen, and critical infrastructure covers stuff like ports and building automation and smart cities and transportation and all that stuff. But for 25 years plus, I worked in process control and process safety. So I started at the ARC in 1993 as an entry-level market researcher, right? We were doing research on the pressure transmitter marketplace. That's where I started, with pressure transmitters and temperature transmitters. And then I got into industrial networking like HART and Foundation Field Bus and Profibus and stuff like that. Then I got into process safety, safety lifecycle management, operator interface design, alarm management, situational awareness. And then we started a smart city practice at ARC about 4 years ago. So I transitioned to that team. So we're trying to take a closer look at what types of systems are being used in smart cities, and now we call it energy and critical infrastructure. Since energy is such a big deal right now, and renewables and so forth, and the whole profile of the power grid is changing. But we can talk about that later. But that's me in brief. I come from process automation. Now I'm working in OT level cybersecurity, which certainly is not exclusive of process automation. It's the biggest market for OT level cybersecurity right now, I think, and this critical infrastructure segment. So that's me.
Excellent. Now, I think I said it in the pre-show, and just for the sake of the audience, we've had a lot of different vendors on that, make and sell HMIs, PLCs, VFDs,
Mm-hmm.
sensors, all kinds of stuff that you and I have worked with for the years and years. And many of them make these claims that and talk about research that's done. And I know that I was thinking there had to be somebody who does that research, and an expert in the field who finds out for these vendors. And I remember in my
Mm-hmm.
years, I spent 25 years as a specialist, and I remember during that time, your company's name, ARC or ARC, came up all the time as somebody that Rockwell would have do research for them and tell them how much market share they had. So that's why I reached out to you, because sounds like you guys get involved not in manufacturing industrial automation products, but in doing a lot of the research that helps the end users, whether they be vendors or somebody else. And I'm just looking at the screen here. Thank you for pulling up this slide. You can see, you have a lot of end users as
We do, yeah.
as your clients. So tell us, if you could, just for somebody who's brand new to ARC, what does ARC do?
Well, like I said, we started off as pretty much a pure play market research company back in 1986, right? So we were doing reports on, like I said, I was doing pressure transmitters and temperature transmitters and level devices. And, we had people doing studies on single loop controllers and proximity sensors and PLCs. And, so we've been doing this quantitative market research for a long time.
And
And
what
we
would
built
that
up a
research
really good
show?
database.
Like
Well, that
what?
shows things like market size
Okay.
and market shares, who has what share of the PLC market, for example. You mentioned Rockwell.
hmm
How are those, who are the leaders in various geographic regions, right?
hmm
What are the market shares by region, market shares and market by industry? A lot of studies, we do different segmentations. So for the DCS study, which was what I did for over 25 years, we split it up by small, medium, and large systems, and different things like that. So we did all this work in the early days, and we still do it, on the quantitative side. And as our understanding of the different products and offerings in the market expanded, we started doing more work with end users because they were trying to figure out, what are the trends in automation and industrial manufacturing, and what types of technologies should we be investing in. For me, again, speaking from my experience as a DCS analyst, what are the trends in DCS? What should we look for? Is this, this is back in the day when they were just starting to implement Ethernet, in DCS. Is this really a trend, or is this a fad? And where is this going? All the way up till today, where we have, the influx of industrial Internet of Things and cloud computing and edge computing. So we sort of expanded into this area of advising end users about their automation strategy and where are things headed, and also more tactical stuff too, right? If I'm going to select an automation system, what are the different selection criteria I should be looking for in a supplier? Whether it's business level criteria, is this supplier still going to be around in 5 years? Do they have a solid balance sheet to, the technology side of things? Does this supplier support the latest technology trends? What's their roadmap? Are they going to guide me in the right direction? All that kind of stuff. So we've really expanded heavily into the end user space to where today I think our business is pretty evenly split between the suppliers and providing advisory services to the end users.
Well, that and that's brings up another question. This may be out of order, so I'll apologize ahead of time. But I'm thinking back over the last 32, 31, 32 years that I've been in this industry, and it seems like more recently than not, there's been a lot of disruption. And nothing happens fast in industrial automation because you make a large investment, you need it to work for 20, 30, or 40 years,
Hmm.
right? So
Sure.
you can't say, well, we're going with the flavor of the month this month. Just doesn't, you can do that with your cell phone, swap it out every year, but not with a capital project
It's
that,
a lot different from IT.
yeah, yeah, exactly, right. And the costs of things are a lot different.
Although the technology is becoming the same. We talk
Yeah,
about IT and edge and cloud and everything. I mean, a lot of these IT technologies, and this has been the pattern in the industry, right? If there's a technology that's well established in IT, it's eventually going to get picked up by the OT and manufacturing. We saw that with the transition from Unix to Windows as an operating system. That was happening when I first joined the company. Was that transition to Windows, right? And the transition to Ethernet as a control network. And now we're seeing the transition to edge computing and cloud computing.
well, that's what I was going to say. It just seems like there's a lot more happening today than say
There is
20,
a lot
30
more.
years ago. It just seems
Yeah.
like so much new technology is coming out that people are finding innovative ways to integrate them into industrial automation. Like maybe 10 years ago, everybody was trying to integrate web pages into their products. But today, with
Yeah, yeah.
IoT and IoT and just cameras on
And
everything and
and
just
security.
and security, well,
Yeah,
this all creates a security headache too, because trying to
it does.
connect
Yeah.
everything to like I like to tell my wife and friends, do you really want to be connected to all your enemies? Do you really
Yeah.
want to connect your most prized possession up to let just pick whatever the most evil spot in the universe is? They can connect to your device across the internet. So, yeah, security is huge.
Security is huge. And I'm really glad to be part of the cybersecurity team. Yeah, and you're right. Digital transformation, which is the umbrella term that we use for
Sure.
this sort of massive, influx of IoT and different IT technologies that are now coming into the world of industrial and manufacturing and so forth. We call it digital transformation, and it's a lot more than, there's a lot more migration of this technology into the world of OT and manufacturing than we've ever seen in the past. I remember when we debated for years about the merits of Ethernet, and now it's like all this stuff happening at once. It's AI,
Hmm.
it's analytics and machine learning, it's cloud computing and edge computing, and virtual networking and virtualization, and it's this huge cluster of different technologies that are finding their way into the OT world now.
Now, I'm assuming too, you guys are responsible when you're doing this research for discounting some of these pie in the sky ideas that will never happen, and reinforcing a direction that looks feasible. I've
Yeah.
heard some crazy things said about industrial automation, and it's like I'm sure you guys get to sort out the dreams from the brass tacks. What's what's actually possible versus what is probably not going to happen in industrial automation. Do you run into that much?
Sure, we do. And that's one of the things our digital transformation team does in advising end users about, if you're if you're embarking on a digital transformation project, rather, where should you start?
Hmm.
Do you start small? How do you get buy-in from the other people in your organization? How do you make this project a success? Because I guess if it's one thing I've seen over and over again, over the years covering this industry, technology is great, but technology is an enabler, right? So you want to have some kind of business objectives in place. You want to have some kind of an idea what you're going to get out of this technology, other than I just want to implement this cool new technology.
Exactly.
Um, which is what we saw, I think, in the early days of ERP, right? When people were going through SAP implementations without really knowing why or what they were going to do with it.
And we're
So
seeing
I
that
think
today, though, with IoT, in my
we
opinion,
do see that today. I think today
with
people are a little
IoT.
bit more informed. I think people are a little bit more discriminating about, what kind of a result am I going to get out of this investment? This better have some ROI, and we better have some long-term business benefit or environmental benefit or sustainability benefit, whatever that might be. You have to have those
But when you look at the cloud,
expectations, metrics in place.
I don't know how many hot people higher up in companies have talked to me about we're going to connect to the cloud, and it's almost like
Yeah,
we're going to get ERP, and it's like, what are you going to do with it? They're
yeah,
like, yeah,
yeah.
then we'll be able to do something with it. It's like, wait a minute.
Yeah, everything will magically be better if we just implement this new technology. Yeah,
Yeah, if you build it, they will come is not true. That is the wrong way to do business. You have to have
exactly.
there has to be a reason, a driving force, I don't know, brass tacks for doing it before you do it. As most people in our industry know, on the
Hmm.
level-headed people who are can touch the plant floor, understand you don't do things because they're fun.
No. And you have the installed base to deal with, right? So I know, if you're in manufacturing, I mean, these systems, like you said before, the average age of a DCS that's installed out there, we did some research on this a few years back. It's over 20 years old,
Oh
you
yeah,
know. Anywhere from the neighborhood of 12 to 20, I think was what we determined. But I mean, this stuff, it sits there for a long time, and it works
yeah,
for a long time. I mean, it's there for a long time because it works reliably for a long time. So whatever you're implementing, as far as new technology, has to be compatible with what you already have. And you can't just, this industry is not an industry that just wholesale replaces everything, all at once.
yeah,
It just
yeah,
doesn't happen.
yeah, and there those out there who are and not that there's anything wrong with that idea, but to assume that there'll be no control systems in the plants, it'll all be controlled by the cloud. I mean, even
Yeah.
Facebook gets locked out of their own buildings
Hmm.
when they have a small glitch in the code. I mean, that's manufacturing. Each facility has to be able to run, um, you know, regardless of whether Time Warner has the cable system up and running, or Spectrum, or
Yeah, these are
Charter, or
mission
whatever.
critical operations, and,
Exactly.
and in a lot of cases, safety is a primary consideration, and you have volatile processes, and so yeah, it's a lot of it is driven by safety.
Yeah, safety is
You know?
job number one.
Yeah,
Absolutely. And
safety and
cybersecurity is so
availability.
important. Now, so you guys do all this research, so you do a great job. You've been doing it for decades. Of this, I'm assuming some of these companies, they contract you to do research, and there's a great quote from Dow on the screen. But do you do anything that the public has access to? So the average controls engineer who would be listening to this, what does ARC have any role or any publications or any type of symposiums or whatnot for the average controls engineer?
Yeah, there's lots of stuff available on our website. If you go to www.arcweb.com, there's a lot of free resources there. We actually just published a report called the Digital Transformation Top 25,
Oh,
where we
great.
took the top 25 end users that, according to our system of measurement, are at the top in terms of implementing digital transformation within their organizations. And that includes names like Tesla and Intel and a bunch of different companies. I could
Sure.
actually put that up on the screen too if you're interested in
Yeah,
that.
if you have it handy.
Yeah, I do.
That sounds like it would be something that would be highly interesting to this audience.
Yeah, I'm just going to stop sharing for 1 second here, and
Yeah.
I'll put that up. But that is publicly available. So we do have a lot of free resources if you're interested. Um, just go to our website, and I'm going to pull up this DT Top 25. Now, I was not part of the team that actually did this, but they have a really solid methodology for determining who they put on this list based on our own research and publicly available information. Um, so that's definitely something you want to check out and download.
And while you're pulling that up, let me ask this question. So, a lot of our listeners are part of these very large companies like the Dows, like the GPs.
Hmm.
And I was just thinking, after we go through this, maybe we can talk a little bit about, what kind of problems ARC can solve for these large companies. And I know we kind of covered that, but like, what kind of things should the people listening, be, you know, what kind of solutions do you guys offer to those large companies that have engineering firms that they need some research done? So I want to so put a pin in that. Let's come back. Let's take a look at this. This is
Okay.
your website, and this is the Digital Transformation Top 25 report.
This is the DT Top 25. And you can register here and download the report for free. You get a little snippet of what's in the report here. So you can see names like Duke Energy and Reliance and Dow and Unilever and Merck and J&J and so forth. And this report will go into all the different aspects of how they're implementing their digital transformation programs and, why we believe they are successful and our methodology for determining the companies that are on the list and so forth. So definitely recommend that.
Yeah, we can definitely see automotive for the audio
Yeah.
audio only audience. There's a group of automotives. There's a group of pharmaceuticals. There's a group of consumer
Yeah.
products. Farm equipment, networking companies, and so on. So it's a good mix
Yeah, we
of
cover the
who's
whole
out there.
spectrum of automation, all the way from the most discrete industries like automotive and farm equipment and stuff like that, all the
Hmm.
way through hybrid industries and regulated industries like pharma and food and beverage. And then on the other end of the spectrum, we have the heavy process stuff, like refining and petrochem and
Hmm.
power gen and all that.
So I got another question for you, but before I get to that, so I'm working as a controls engineer, electrical engineer in a large company. Is when would I what would be some good times for me to come to you and say, hey, I need to know more about this. I have a capital project. I want to make sure I make the right decisions. Where have you guys?
Hmm.
And I don't even know if this is a fair question or not, but I'll just throw it out there.
Well, I would say if it's related to automation or production technology or supply chain
Okay,
in any
yeah,
way, because we cover supply chain too, we could help you with it. That could be with selecting a product or selecting a system or an application, or you got a short list of suppliers. We don't recommend specific suppliers. I just want to make that clear. I mean,
sure.
we never come out and say you should use company X. What we do is look at what your requirements are. Um, and I participated in a bunch of these DCS system selection projects, and that can be a pretty intense exercise. If you're going over, if you have a big new project on the horizon, you want to select a new system. You've had a system in place for say 15, 20 years. You may not be up to date as to what's going on in the marketplace right now. So we've gone in and done updates as far as this is where the market is right now. Here's the latest available technology. Here's where it's going. If you have a supplier short list, we can go over their offerings with you. We can go over your overall list of selection criteria, and narrow it down to a better list, and we can provide weighting for that list if you want. All of this is designed towards the final project, right? The selection and generating an RFI and all that kind of stuff we've helped out with. We help out with small stuff too. I mean, the example I just gave is a pretty big example of a big project, where you're doing a big system selection. But we do small stuff too. If you're a small plant and you're looking for a new HMI, or you're looking at trends at the device level, or you're trying to select, which device level network should I use? Um, which safety system should I use? What are the trends in the regulatory environment? Pretty much anything I think we've done at some point.
That makes sense.
advising the end user about, and a lot of times it's about the application of technology. It's about the intelligent application of technology to the world of manufacturing.
Awesome. I just had where as we branch out and we cover more and more industrial automation companies, to bring new and unique content to our viewers and listeners, along with the staples. Um, One company we just recently had on, actually previously had on, was Codesys. And
Mhm.
that was kind of generated from the fact that IFM, who's been very good to us and sent us in samples, we've had hundreds of thousands of people view our videos on their products. They sent us in an HMI PLC combo device, which we covered. And but it ran on Codesys, and I've always kind of heard from the edges, and so they came on the show, and it's a great show if anybody's missed that. But they had mentioned something about ARC, and I was like, oh, they didn't even know you were coming on. So apparently you have an event, an annual event. Can you tell us a little bit about that? Would you be prepared to talk a little bit about that?
Oh, sure. That's our annual industry forum that we have in Orlando every year. It's usually in February, but this year with Omicron, we postponed the event to the week of June 6th.
Okay.
And we attract over 1,000 people to this event. It's a really good balance of end users and suppliers from the world of technology. We have presentations on everything from digital transformation to cybersecurity and critical infrastructure and all kinds of stuff. So again, if you go to arcweb.com, you can find more information out about the forum. But this is a lot of people tell me they value the networking at this event more than anything because of the people that we draw in.
It seems like you're bringing in not only vendors but also actual users,
A lot of
engineers.
end users. Yeah, half our attendees are end users and engineers easily
Okay.
from all these companies that you see here, Georgia Pacific and Chevron and Dow and ExxonMobil. You see all these people there. In addition to the ABBs and Siemens and Emersons and Honeywells and Rockwells of the world,
Hmm.
you will see all these people that you see on the screen right now. So I think it's that intersection of suppliers and end users and even engineering companies and other companies all in one place that are also at a certain level, right?
Yep.
Um, so I mean, if you're looking for hands-on technical training like you do, and you do a great job, that's probably not what you're going to find at the forum. You're going to find higher level stuff, although you will find really good case studies about the implementation of certain different technologies in manufacturing. Our presentations are set up so that you actually hear from the end users. Our presenters are end users. So when you go to the keynote address, you'll see somebody from Dow, right, or
Hmm.
DuPont, or Dow DuPont, Suncor or ExxonMobil. That's who you're going to see presenting at the forum. Along with representatives from supplier companies too. But really, the spotlight is on the end users at this conference.
Sure. Sure.
They are the primary presenters, and the conference is totally focused towards the end user.
Yeah, and I think the vendors probably help make it happen, and
So they
they're
sure do. Yeah,
yeah,
they provide sponsorships and
yeah.
they provide us with a lot of support. And if you want to find out what the vendors are doing, it's a great place to go and find out because we
Mhm.
have a technology exhibit too. So it's like I said, it's really both sides. Is what to me what makes it so great is both sides are very well represented.
That's awesome. Yeah, I wanted
Yeah.
to make sure we mentioned that because I know the CodeSys guys who were just on were attending the plan, and I sound like they go every year. But um, kind of just to kind of look over what we covered. Was there anything we wanted to talk about, or you wanted to tell the audience about ARC that we haven't covered yet? I know we covered just a wild range of topics.
Yeah, it's a wide range. We could probably talk another hour about this. So I think the best thing to do is go to the website, find out about the forum. You can participate in the forum too. I mean, if you're interested in doing a presentation, our presenters and panelists attend for free. So I would say to your listeners, if you have something worth sharing, let us know. You can email me at lobrien, at arcweb.com if you're interested, or go to our website and find out more there. But I think that's about all we have for this time frame today.
Yeah, we've had some phenomenal listeners contribute to the automationblog.com in the past, and And I think some of those folks would be phenomenal presenters. So people actually in the field applying the products. So if you're listening and you're one of those people, you know who you are. Give Larry a call or drop him
Glad
an
to hear
email, I
from you.
guess.
Yep.
Excuse me. Well, Larry, I want to really thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to come on the Automation Podcast and really kind of introduce us all to ARC. Like I said, I'd seen ARC advisory group on a lot of research in my previous life. And so it's great to have you on. And to anybody listening out there or watching, I'd love to get your feedback. If you've interfaced with ARC and have a story to tell, please feel free to comment on this podcast wherever you're listening to it from. We're on so many platforms now, but you can always, of course, comment on at the automationblog.com. We have a comment section over there as well. But again, Larry, thank you so much for coming on.
Thanks for having me. Hope to come back again sometime.
Well, I hope you enjoyed that episode. And I want to thank Larry for taking time out of his busy schedule to come on the podcast. Now, if you're watching the video edition of the podcast, please consider giving us a like and a sub. And if you're listening to the audio-only edition, then please consider giving us a 5-star review. And thank you to those who have already done so. I really appreciate it. Doing so really helps us find a larger audience as well as new vendors to come on the show. Now, if you'd like to follow me and maybe even buy me a cup of coffee, you can do so over at automation.locals.com. And of course, you'll always find all of my training courses over at theautomationschool.com. With that said, I want to wish you all a very safe, healthy, and happy week. And until next time, my friends, peace.